All right. Hey there, data lovers, and welcome to another I Love Data Fridays here at the International Data Evaluation Center on the gorgeous campuses of The Ohio State University. And welcome to our I Love Data Fridays podcast. And this podcast, our question was, predicting student outcomes from fall scores. And this is from the March 3rd I Love Data Fridays in 2017, volume number 4 of our podcast, question number 1. So let's get right to it, folks. Hey, who's talking data to you today? Well, you've got me, Jeff Breimer-Bashore, Director of IT and Operations here at the International Data Evaluation Center. And then later in the video, we will have a pre-recorded session where IDEC's Help Desk Coordinator, Julie Wolf, and our special guest teacher leader in this podcast, Laurel Dickey, reading recovery teacher from the Collaboration for Educational Services, joining us in our podcast for a game we're going to be playing later. So let's get right to it, folks. Let's talk a little data, and let's talk about our question. And this question was actually sent in by our teacher leader, Laurel Dickey, which is why we had her come in and join us with our game here today. So her question says, we too often hear teachers or administrators making the claim they know simply by looking at the observation survey scores in September which students will be designated discontinued by mid-year and which will be recommended for additional support following 20 weeks of daily reading recovery lessons. Can you review the ways in which data do not support the ability to predict the end of program designation? So a beautiful question and a good chance to use some data. So let's get right to it. Let's talk a little data. So, can we predict with any accuracy a child's intervention status by simply looking at the fall OS scores? All right. So we're going to try to answer that. We're going to answer that. We're going to try to we are going to examine that with a little data. And then I'll tell you a little bit here later, another thing we're going to do. So what Laurel is telling us that, a person looks at all 6 of the OS scores and they make a prediction. They glean some sort of information from this that tells them that, this child will be discontinued or recommended. All right. So before we get to the data, we're going to revisit the student selection process, not so much how you should be doing it, but, what's going on with the student selection process. And actually, we're going to focus on the students themselves, the students' experience, and just talk about that briefly. And then we are going to look at some data using the fall OS total score, and we're going to see if there's some sort of clear delineation between our discontinued and recommended students. Can the data we have show that there is some sort of clear difference between our discontinued and recommended students in the fall? And then finally, the part that I'm really excited about, we are going to play a game today that's called Can You Guess the Intervention Status? And Julie Wolf and Laurel Dickey will be joining me for that part of the pre-recorded podcast. Now, so let me just talk about the student selection process real quick, and not once again about how we select students, but what's going on with students. So, when a student comes to reading recovery, we know that students come with already a set of literacy comprehension skills and strategies. All right, we know that they are there, and that when a teacher sits down with that student and evaluates them and goes sort of roaming around the known, that the teacher will observe usually a subset of those skills and strategies. Maybe the teacher will get most of them or see most of them, but what the teacher is seeing is only usually not the full set of skills or strategies that the student may have in their toolbox. And then we also know then that the skills document, that this observation survey only documents a subset of what the teacher is observing. All right, so we already know by the sort of our understanding of how the student selection process works that, the OS scores do not capture everything about what's going on with the student. And a thing that sometimes we can't even capture is these, even external influences of what's happening with the child or beyond the child's control or beyond the teacher's control. And I know you're probably saying, Jeff, you were just looking for an excuse to use a lot of circles and arrows today. You may be right, but still, I think this is important to remember that, the observation survey only documents, a small, well, a fraction of what, the child knows in their literacy and comprehension skills and the strategies that they employ. All right, so let's get to talking about some real data here real quick. And so my question is there a clear delineation in the data? Do we see some difference between our discontinued and recommended students in the fall? So in this chart right here, I'm showing the range of the fall OS total score for our recommended and discontinued students. And I'm using data from 2 school years, from the 14-15 school year and the 2015-16 school year. So we are just showing the range of scores. So the minimum score, which is represented by the bottom of each bar, and the maximum score that you would find for each category student, which is represented by the top of each bar. So for example, discontinued students, we had the least amount of, the lowest score you could find for a discontinued student on the fall OS total score was a 0. The maximum you could find was around a 5. I'm going to say it's about a 550. Same again for our recommended students. In the fall, you could find a minimum score of a 0 on the total score. And once again, a maximum fall OS total score was just above a 500. I think it was around a 520. So this bar chart begins to show that, there is, I don't see a real clear delineation. I mean, the only place that there's a clear delineation or some sort of difference between our discontinued and recommended students is when we get above a certain maximum OS total score. So for example, with our recommended kids, once we get above about 520, this is where really exclusively discontinued children live. But the rest of the bar, look, essentially what I'm saying is that these bars overlap the vast majority of themselves. They overlap, more than 90% of their height here. So our discontinued and recommended students, when looking at this data, it's showing us that they're all jumbled together at the start of the year. And, that their total score is not really telling us who is one or the other until we get to an extreme. An extreme meaning, we get above a certain score, and then we then lose some of our recommended. We lose our recommended children right there, and we can see that anyone above sort of a 522 is probably going to be discontinued rather than recommended. So now I want to look at one more chart, and it kind of reinforces this already. And what we are looking at is the distribution of the fall OS total score by our study group. So we're looking at, and once again, I'm using 2015 and 15-16 data for this. And what we're showing is the count of students who got that particular OS total score. So the total score is along the bottom here. And then our lines show us the number of children that got that score. So I know immediately all of you are focusing on this big spike right here. We had a lot of kids who had a total score, I think it was probably around a 400 in the fall. We had about, I'm going to almost say 1,500 of them, all right, had that total score. So now what's important, so the higher the line goes, the more children got that particular score. So now what's not important is that we have, so our blue line is our discontinued children, our red line is our recommended children. What's not important is that we have more discontinued children. We know that. When we look at like a figure 2.2, the percentage of kids that were discontinued and recommended, 72% of our kids are discontinued, or somewhere around there. I know you're all gonna send me emails back and be like, oh, it was 75, Jeff. I don't have that statistic in front of me. It's around there somewhere. What is more important is, once again, is how the lines, the data is overlapping. Like, we are having both discontinued and recommended kids with a score of 336. There's certainly more of them recommended at 336 than discontinued, but the kids are overlapping. They're mixed in with each other. They're jumbled at the beginning of the year. We can't, they are all existing in the same spot. And once again, we can't really say, it's once we get around to, looks like, number of recommended kids starts to dwindle around a 450 once we start getting high enough. We can't. So I'm just going to stop it there. To me, the data is showing that, the kids are mixed together, discontinued and recommended. And certainly when we get to an extreme of very high scores in the fall, we can start really saying, we know maybe someone is going to discontinue, but in general, the scores and the children are very mixed together. Now, so I think the best way to show this, let's perform an experiment, and I'm really excited to get to this part, our game where can you guess the intervention status? Now, I'll let you know I'm actually recording this part of the podcast after we did the game. So let me give you a few insights about what's going to go on. So Laurel actually had a good observation in there that, we're looking at the data sort of after the fact that, IDEC gets the data after school teams have made decisions already about reading recovery kids. And, these last few charts were using the OS total score, and the OS total score is not quite a perfect match for a human who is using, their personal experience and data together. I needed a way to simulate it. The OS total score can help sort of simulate that, but it's really not an exact match for a human using experience and data, which is why I wanted to do this little game. We can actually, observe Laurel using her 25 years of teacher leader experience, observe me using what limited experience I have, and see, how that shakes out. Just some notes about the experiment. On our first try through this experiment, we used both first round and second round children, and we got about 30 some kids in the way through, and Laura asked me the question, well, because she was like getting them all. Well, she wasn't getting them all, but she was really getting a high percentage of them, and we found out that she was really queuing in on those second round students and really accurately predicting that they were going to be discontinued students. So we went back, we reselected a random 50 kids of just first round students, and we re-recorded. And I think that was a good move. And at some point, Zoom stopped recording on us, and we had to go and restart their recording. So I kind of went back and forth on how much do I edit out and how much do I not show. So I thought I certainly edit it because you didn't want to watch the whole 2-hour experience. We certainly shortened it down, but I've left some of our difficulties and our conversations in there. I tried to pick out the good conversations, and I thought it was also good to show how sometimes experiments don't go as planned, and you have to go back and replan your experiments and do them again, which is all a part of the experimentation process. So, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the experience. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have our pre-recorded session here for our game, Can You Guess the Intervention Status? And we want to welcome to our game here on I Love Data Fridays, and if I get the next bullet to come up, we want to welcome Laurel Dickey from our Collaborative for Educational Services. Welcome, Laurel.
Thanks, Jeff. Hi.
Hi. So, ladies and gentlemen, Laurel's been a regular contributor to our I Love Data Friday questions. So I have to say thank you, Laura, for making sure that you keep us busy every month with
Thank you for doing Data Fridays. We like them.
So, and also we have Julie here. Say hi, Julie.
Hello.
Hey, all right. So we've got our contestants today. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you what we're doing. So I've had Richard Terry here, our systems analyst, select 50 students at random, reading recovery students at random from our database. And they are both first round and second round students. And what we are going to do, or I'm going to do, is I'm going to show the OS scores for each student one at a time. And then Laurel, myself and Laurel and Julie, we are going to try to guess the student's intervention status, whether they are discontinued or recommended, solely based off of their fall OS scores. Laurel is going to be our expert. She will use her trained expert eye, look at the numbers, and try to make an informed decision about it. I will make a slightly less informed decision. As I like to say, I know enough to get myself into trouble. And then Julie is representing our random luck today, and Julie will be flipping a coin. And Julie, what do we have on our coin there?
On the head side, I have a D, which is going to represent the discontinued students, and on the back side, I have an R, and that'll be for the recommended.
Now, Laurel wanted us to make sure to state that she, as a trained expert with 25 years of reading recovery experience, should be able to identify most of kids who are discontinued and recommended by looking at their data. She won't be 100%, but she'll be fairly high. Now, but the person that I'm representing, the untrained expert, should be less accurate than her. And her question was more that, we have administrators who are untrained in literacy or reading recovery, sometimes making these predictions or decisions about kids. Okay. Now, here is my first score. Now, ladies and gentlemen, with these first two students, I'm going to have, when Laurel makes her guess, I'm going to have her sort of explain why she thinks the score is, and then we will review it. The way we're going to do it, Julie, you'll guess first with the coin. I'll guess second, and then Laurel, you will be our third guess, okay?
Okay.
All right, let's go to it. So, Julie.
Okay, here we go. Let me get ready. I'm flipping, and it landed on the R for recommended.
Okay, and I'm going to say, let me look at the scores. I'm going to say discontinued.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Jeff. I'm thinking discontinued, and the things I'm looking at in particular are a child who in September can read at text level 3, who can read 8 words on the Ohio word test. Those two scores, especially in the fall, would be, at least in my implementation, pretty unusual in terms of kids we look at for potentially being selected into reading recovery. That child would rarely get selected in my implementation.
Okay.
And would likely be a kid who, if they came in later or came in the fall, would discontinue.
Okay, so let's undo the score here. It is discontinued. All right, so I will give Laurel a 1. I will give myself a 1. And Julie, we give the coin a 0. Okay, let me get the next scores here. Okay, Julie, let's go with you.
Ready? R for recommended.
Okay, and all right, I'm going to agree with the coin on this one. I'm going for recommended.
I'm going to go for recommended also. This one, right away, the concepts about print score at a 7 stood out to me. The one thing that we don't have here that we might have if this were an actual selection process, we'd know if this kid were a second language learner. Because concepts about print sometimes are low, especially in September, for the kids who are still learning English.
Okay, all right. And let's see what the score is here. Recommended, all right. All right. I said recommended too. And Julie, what was yours?
Recommended.
All right. So we all got ones. All right. So good, Laura. That's good. We'll just kind of plow through these here,
Okay.
And I'll speed the video up. I'm wondering if Laurel, man, we got to repeat this experiment with just first round kids.
I think it would be much harder.
Hey, how much time do you have?
I've got time.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we are coming back. We are starting our game here. Now, we actually played through the game most of the way once, and then Laurel asked me, like, is this first round or second round, kids? And I'm like, well, it's both rounds. And we kind of see that Laurel was picking out the second round kids, and she was unfairly identifying them as discontinued. So we've actually went through almost 30 of the kids, and we decided to start over again. So we've reselected a random set of 50 kids, just first round kids. And boy, we are are we ready to start again, folks?
We are ready to start again, Jeff.
Okay, Julie.
All right.
Okay.
The team is on R for recommended.
Okay, and I suppose, Laura, let's just have you repeat your analysis again for this first one.
Right. So when I look at this and I think about this being a child entering in September, I think the concepts about print score is quite low. We don't see a 4 all that often. And you don't see any strengths in writing either. So I'm going to guess that this is going to be a recommended kid.
And Laurel has thoroughly convinced me, so I will agree. And they are recommended. Okay, all right. And Julie, the coin had it right?
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
Okay. Oh my gosh, we have 50 of these to go. All right, next one, coin.
I have an R for recommended.
Ladies and gentlemen, we had an unexpected technical glitch, so I'm just saying we've spliced a few sections here together to get one complete video. So, all right, we are on student, I believe we are on our third student here. Julie, hit it. Next, all right, Julie.
R recommended.
I did 50, 20. Oh, I could go either way. I'm just gonna say discontinued.
So am I discontinued.
Hey, I mean, not that I wish he wasn't ready. All right. And the coin said recommended, right?
Yes.
Good job, coin. All right. All right, let's go. Coin.
Okay, the coin. R recommended.
R recommended. I am gonna say recommended on this one.
Recommended.
Recommended. All right. Well, I mean, good job. Why am I? All right. Anyways.
Whether you're congratulating the contestants or the child.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. All right. I mean, I do, but sort of not. All right.
Okay.
Go for it. All right. I'm going recommended.
I agree with the coin. Discontinued.
Oh, you guys. Okay.
Oh wow, that's okay, this is an R. Recommended.
Okay. I'm gonna go with recommended.
Me too.
Oh, we nailed it. Oh man. God.
I'll try you as a reading recovery teacher, Jeff.
I'm still not doing as well as you are.
But you're a quick study.
I'm just listening to what you said.
Like I said, you're a quick study.
All right, coin. What do we got? Soldier on here. All right, here we go.
Is recommended.
I'm gonna. Oh, all right, vocabulary. I'm gonna go with discontinued.
Me too. Discontinued.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I'm not gonna throw the game here, Jeff.
I know you're fine. I'm asking you to give your honest effort.
I am giving you my honest.
All right, let's take a look at how we're doing. Laurel's got like 90% accuracy. But thanks for the question, Laurel. Oh my God, you've gotten 20 out of 25 so far. Oh, Julie, we're about even. I'm no better.
Well, you're what it should be like. So here's something that's interesting, Jeff, that I'm thinking about. When you're in a selection meeting, it's not just all teacher leaders. It's not even all just trained reading recovery teachers. You've got classroom teachers and then you've got administrators. And I hate to say it, but it's usually the administrators that you're arguing with who think they know.
Ah, okay.
And the administrators are going to be more like the coin.
Okay. Well, no, that's okay. Good. Okay. So, I mean, we shouldn't be, I mean, not that I'm upset at you for kicking my butt so far, but we shouldn't be upset at your trained eye at spotting some of
Right, but I shouldn't be. I mean, I thought from reading previous research studies that I shouldn't be able to even get this close.
Yeah, well,
So-
all right. We've got 25 kids left.
Yeah, let's do them and see.
I'm going to go recommended.
Discontinued.
Oh, okay. Oh, I beat Laurel. Yay! All right, 3 more to go, guys. 3 more.
Don't reveal the end of program.
Oh, no, wait a minute. Oh,
I'm not looking.
I saw it, though. All right, so, all right.
Did you
Laurel,
cover it back up?
I did, yes, yeah.
Okay.
I got a recommended.
I think I'll say recommended.
Oh, it was discontinued. Laura, you had about a 72% accuracy. I had a 60% accuracy, and I'm not surprised. The coin has about a 50% accuracy. But now, see, I love your comment about the
70%.
team that's working on deciding that some of the decision makers, I might be best represented by the sort of
A non-reading recovery trained person at a team meeting.
yeah.
Classroom teacher, an administrator, a special education teacher, whatever.
Yeah.
And then when you look at the 72%, you've got the highest level of training. I mean, I've been doing this for 25 years. I'm a
Yeah.
teacher leader. I go to, many, many schools and help with selection and see those scores. And then I monitor the children's progress from the time that they enter with those scores throughout their program. So I have a pretty good sense of what happens to kids and what can happen. And, throughout, I kept looking at individual scores and comparing them to the other scores in the profile, that you weight them differently.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what else, Jeff? When I think about this, when we try to make decisions on children's progress based just on their scores, either when we're deciding whether or not to select them into the program, or if it's somewhere midway in their program and teachers are thinking the child should be taken out of reading recovery because their progress is slow and they should be referred to some kind of longer term support, the question I always ask is, you may statistically have a greater chance of being right than wrong, but you still have a chance of being wrong about that child. Are you willing to make that gamble in terms of this child's literacy learning?
Yeah, and if we look at your percentages, you were, I mean, even you were still.
I'm wrong 30% of the time.
Yeah, 3 times out of 10. So.
And that's the figure I actually cite. Some early research of Clay was looking at trying to make predictions based on, at week 10, what text level they were at and how many writing vocabulary words they could read. And she found 30% of the time you would be wrong if you tried to make that decision on particular criteria.
Yeah.
I'm not willing to be wrong for kids 30% of the time.
Yeah, no. So I think that's a good way of in stating. And then really, as me as the stand-in for an administrator, I am only 4% better than the coin.
Yeah.
So
And you're wrong 40% of the time if you want to look at it that way.
yeah, well,
Well, I don't want to gamble with kids that way. These are kids. This is their one chance to learn to read. Maybe.
so, but no, that's right. Yeah, I'm 4 kids out of 10. I am identifying or predicting incorrectly. So
Exactly.
I think that it's not a gamble we want to make. So
That's what I think. I agree.
okay. So, well, Laurel, I'm going to say thank you for being willing to participate for the 9 recordings of this that we had to do and everything. And I appreciate that you send all these questions in and everything, and keep sending them in. And ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have found. I hope you have found this. Let me stop laughing, because I really do hope that you have found this informative, because I think what we are showing here and what we're saying is that even though I'm not bombing it out at 30% here, and Laurel kicked my butt at 72%, that even a trained expert is still at times not able to predict 3 times out of 10 what is going to happen to a child. And so we need to make sure that no matter what we see with the data, that we serve those kids that really need reading recovery. And Julie, thank you for playing the part of Random Chance today.
You're welcome.
All right, so
Thank you, Jeff, for doing the I Love Data Fridays. It's
you're
a
welcome.
great thing you're producing for us.
So, all right. Okay, All right, folks. Well, I hope you sure enjoyed that our little game there. I think you could tell by the end we were all getting slightly giddy from reviewing student data for almost 2 hours, and I can't tell you, I appreciate Laurel just sticking it out with us. I'm not going to offer too many conclusions here because I think we did. Laurel did a great job of offering some real good insight there at the end of the game. But I would certainly say that an experienced teacher leader certainly did better than me and the coin. We saw that. And Laurel at time. We had Laurel explain her process of how she went through on some of the students and decided their intervention status, showing that an experienced person really has a better chance of guessing it, and that but so she did better than us. But then me, as the person who was sort of the stand-in proxy for someone on a school team that doesn't have a lot of literacy experience or reading recovery students, that really I only did 4% better than Random Chance. That meaning that you're almost someone inexperienced on a team like that almost has a similar chance of, you might as well just flip a coin if you're letting someone with some little experience trying to decide whether someone's going to be discontinued or recommended. But ultimately, what we are saying here, and Laurel said it, and I'm going to say it again, no matter what, whether it's an experienced person or inexperienced, we don't want to gamble with our children. So, and I borrowed this from Pat Sherry, every child deserves the best intervention they can get. So let's make sure that we do that, and we try to, stick up for our children as much as we can, advocate for them. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say thank you once again for joining us for an I Love Data Fridays podcast. If you haven't, I highly encourage you on the YouTube page there to go down and click the subscribe button and subscribe to our YouTube podcast for I Love Data Fridays. And we'll talk data to you later.